Hello, my friends. I want to offer a short reflection this morning for my friends in recovery. This is something that, again, perhaps other programs I haven't looked into offer this, but one thing I have learned about recovery that I was not told is that it's really a relationship. So, the two things I want to talk about are how recovery is a relationship and two different ways to redirect fear. So, recovery is a relationship. What does that mean? So, what I have found in my own recovery, the actual process itself, as well as observing people who are very vibrantly well, is that a big part of recovery is integrating all of our parts. And I'm not going to go deep into this. There's something called parts work. There's something called internal family systems, and you can apply that within families and within individuals. But essentially, if you just think of the basic, most people when people talk, they allude to this. Well, there's a part of me that feels this way, but there's a part of me that feels that way. That's basically what we're talking about. It's not any really truly fancy or wild, idea. It's inherent to our speech, at least in English, and how we talk about the self. And recovery is essentially creating a connection between your most authentic self, your essence, and every part of you. It's a reconnecting. It's a coming home to yourself. It's a belonging, essentially. And that's what recovery is about. Because once we're living from that place of belonging and feeling secure and connected, that's thriving. Regardless of what exactly it looks like in any moment, we're thriving, we're growing, we're moving in the direction of complete fullness and wholeness of life. And that's always a process. So wherever you are, whether, and that's where it doesn't really have anything to do with symptoms, because symptoms can ebb and flow, and they do disappear completely. But even when symptoms are gone, there's still different levels of fullness and wholeness and abundance and richness of life that we want to attain to. That, there's always a goal, there's always something we haven't achieved yet, and that's part of what makes life a beautiful thing. So recovery isn't a finish line, it's a relationship of connection. And this ties into the second piece, which is two different ways to redirect fear. The way that's most commonly in the program that I used, the DNRS, this is the way that's just, it's one of just plain redirection. And when it's just limbic fear for no good reason, when it's irrational, just refocusing on something positive, realizing, okay, this fear is irrational, it doesn't need any answer, it's just a sign that I need dose chemistry, I'm just a person who needs love, as I like to say. Then just redirecting straight, just recognizing it as irrational and redirecting to a positive focus is all that's necessary. There are times, though, where, and this is where, again, as we evolve in our journey and our curious observer grows, and we begin to understand what's happening within ourselves, and you realize, okay, there's a reason. Like for me, I had something come up where I've going through a lot of big changes in my life, right? Like I lived a very limited life before, and I'm growing up, and I'm becoming, all that I can be and fulfilling my potential in all these big ways. And my limbic system is just terrified. So it creates, as the limbic system does, it creates stories, it creates symptoms, it creates all these webs to try to keep us stuck in a fear space, basically, again, curled up on the couch, not moving. And my brain, like any other human brain, was doing that, trying to create webs of stories and symptoms and all this stuff to keep me staying small where it felt safe, because that's the only thing I've ever known before now. And once I kind of poked a hole in all the different stories, I just had this moment last night where my brain was just honest, and it was like, I am so scared. And that was it. And I had been trying to redirect the first way the whole day, and that was necessary for sure. But then by the end of the day, it was just like, okay, I'm done fighting you. Like, it's okay to be scared. This is big stuff, So if you're going through something where you're going through a big change, where there's something new happening in your life soon, where you realize you're crossing an important line in life, and there's some distinct reason why there's fear coming up, realizing that fear is rational, is logical, it makes sense. Recognize when the fear makes sense, and that it's okay. You don't have to push it away. You can welcome it in and just be like, okay, well, then I'm just gonna sit with you while you're scared, okay, self? Like, it's okay to be scared. I'm not gonna try to push it away. I'll just sit next to the anxiety and love it until it fades. Because I get it. Like, yeah, it's a big deal. You're scared. You're a person. That's okay. It's okay to be scared. And just comforting. And that's oftentimes the way forward, is sometimes is to turn toward the fear and just be with it in a loving way and acknowledge its validity. And that's this something that my clients have said, wow, I don't, like, no one ever told me that, is this process of when you have an unpleasant fear-based thought, something that's part of a loop in your mind. I mean, you have, the tendencies to fall back into old behaviors or old thought patterns or old belief patterns or depression or anxiety or, any sort of old loop that you have. The first step of healing is always saying, I see you, I understand what's happening. You're just, and so it could be a lot of different reasons. With limbic system impairment, a lot of times it's just the brain, looking for the sense of safety by keeping your neurochemical state rather the same. Keeping the same amount of stress chemistry in your body feels familiar, it feels safe, so sometimes that's the reason. Recognizing that. Sometimes it's like I was just saying, if there's something else happening in our lives that feels big and scary, the limbic system will create a diversion so that we don't have to actually address the thing we're actually scared of. It will create a symptom or a loop to avoid facing the truth of how we feel. But recognizing whatever's happening and saying, and most of the time in recovery, it's pretty basic. Just, I see you, I understand that you're trying to keep me safe, and that's not what keeps me safe, but I understand. I see you and I understand, and I know what you need, and now I'm going to give you what you need. And moving into whatever it is that you truly need in that moment and giving it to yourself. That process of seeing and accepting and understanding and offering love and then offering firm redirection as well. It's the both and of the tenderness, the I see you, and then the firm redirection that leads to healing. And that's oftentimes the missing piece for people because it's not offered that perspective. So that's the summary of this little tidbit for today, and I hope that offers some relief to people because it can be exhausting when we feel like we have to fight fear all the time. Sometimes it's not necessary at all. So go love yourself, comfort yourself, give yourself whatever it is you need, and have a gorgeous day, my friends. All my love.